Hello friends, Big Juicy Boy here, and welcome to patch 7.36c carry tier list for patch 7.36c. Let's get into it. First and foremost, we'll start with the dog poo heroes. Sniper, not good, as much as it pains me to say this. I really like this hero. Conda Rapier, offlane rush, very good strategy. Not really, it's good if you want to lose friendships. Ghillie suit is cool in theory, but you're running really slow when you press take aim, so it kind of screws you over. And then the other facet pretty much just makes shrapnel worse, which is really funny. It's like the strongest spell pre 5 minutes in the game, and then just completely worthless. And also in the current patch, there's a lot of Primal Beast, Spirit Breaker, these types of heroes that are really good backline jumpers. So a lot of the carries that are backliners that need to be protected are not very good. Luna. So the changes that they made to this hero in 7.36 was that they basically took her OP shard and they mixed in some components of this to the base ability of her Moonglaves, and then they nerfed Moonglaves as a result. And she has suffered since this change. It just seems like she is a worse version of her past self, and that's rough for her. Her innate being this cast range increase thing is kind of cool. Like, theoretically, maybe some offlane Luna with the Aghanim Scepter is something that you could do with the facet regarding her ultimate, but I don't know. We'll see. This is a carry tier list, so it's kind of bad. Draw Ranger, I think she has very similar issues to Sniper, which is she is a very backliney type carry hero, and all of the heroes that are backline carries are not very good right now. On top of that, I think that the Necrophoses of the world, the Alchemists of the world, these are not completely busted heroes by any means. Like, Leshrac is not insanely good. Like, a lot of the heroes that Draw Ranger you would pick to hard counter are either bad or they're just like C or B tier, which is not enough to justify picking her, in my opinion. Anti-Mage, the big issue with this hero is that, well, he's one of the heroes that they took what was in a base ability, which is reflecting on his mana shield ability or whatever it's called now, like actually reflecting the spell. They put it into a facet. So if you want old anti-mage, you have to go for that. Or you can go for this thing where you gain damage based on the amount of mana people have lost in the area. That's honestly kind of okay, but then you're missing the old anti-mage ability to reflect spells, which is pretty bad. But I would say the main issue with this hero is that it is a hugely 5-man meta right now. People are going Pipe, people are going Greaves, all of these auras, and just deathballing. So any carry that doesn't like to play into deathball, any carry that needs to farm and has some like later timing is not very good. Battle Fury heroes are just not great right now. Spectre, similar kind of boat where I feel like she needs some time to get online, and you don't get that much time to get online in this patch. On top of that, they took the Spectral Dagger on Reality, and they put it on, I think it's called Reality, but they took the Spectral Dagger when you ult to somebody, and they put that on a facet. So another one of these heroes where they took Spectre of old patch, or they took the hero from the old patch, and then they just put it on a facet on the new patch. So all these other heroes get a new thing associated with the hero, but then this one doesn't. So that is really rough for her. And then also in terms of builds, Radiance AoE was just nerfed. Blade Mail cost was nerfed significantly, and that was a farming item that this hero was building. So I'm not sure what the build on Spectre would be. Maybe like Earn, but even that felt like it was the worst Spectre build that there was. So she's looking really rough. Bristleback, I will say what I said about this hero in the offlane tier list again, which is just that if you could go neither facet, I think this hero would genuinely be better. If there was a way to not choose a facet. And that is bad if you want to play Bristleback. It is not good. All of these dog poo heroes have like 40% win rates or close to 40%, maybe 45% at best if like really good players in the bracket that spam them are playing them a lot. But it's just not looking good for these heroes. Okay, getting into the D tier, these are not as bad heroes. In fact, like they could turn out to be like A or maybe even S tier if Valve gives them enough buffs in certain patches. So Warden, in my opinion, he's more of a mid now. The 100% uptime on his illusion or his clone or whatever you want to call it, or nearly 100% uptime, I do think is good. It's a little bit risky, but it's good. But I think he's better with levels. He gets a regen rune whenever he picks up another rune, which is very good for playing mid Warden. Maybe I'm underrating this hero a little bit, and I need to see somebody who's really good at it play it as a carry. But for right now, at the very least, I wouldn't recommend going and learning Arc Warden for pubs unless you really want to be like a cheese last pick mid player. It does seem like it's quite good for mid, but for carry, it's a bit sus, especially with all the 5-manning that's going on. Pudge, this hero was actually very good for any time after 7.36. Even now, he's still decent, honestly. They nerfed the strength that you gain from his ult on one of the facets. It's still per tick, so even though it looks like it's not a lot, it is a decent amount. It's not as much as it was at the start of the patch, where you would basically just full heal yourself and gain a bunch of strength and be unkillable. The other facet is the Flayer's Hook. They just reduced the hook speed on it, and because of that, the hero really fell off. They nerfed Flesh Heap as well, because people were going Flayer's Hook and playing mid Pudge. So for all of these reasons, Pudge fell from like A or S tier, definitely S tier hero, probably A tier carry, to the D tier, which is unfortunate for me because he's my favorite hero. Juggernaut, this hero also was very strong at the start of 7.36. People were going for the facet where when you're not around heroes, you get bonus agility. They subsequently nerfed that, and then people started going for the Blade Fury facet where you can crit on Blade Fury. It all seems kind of okay ever since they changed Blade Fury so that it's based on your attack speed. They've been like messing with this ability a lot. It just doesn't feel like Juggernaut has really recovered, and maybe he did for like a blip. But then immediately he gets nerfed. He's kind of like Sand King, although I say that Sand King's getting picked right now again. So, you know, maybe Juggernaut will start getting picked. But Jug just seems to be in the same kind of mediocre state. And I also think a lot of the offlaners that are strong right now, like Slardar will dumpster a Juggernaut, for example. Even a Centaur would honestly do well against Jug. It's like, what matchup are you picking this hero in where he's going to win the matchup? It just doesn't feel like much right now. Medusa, so she is another one of these heroes who has a facet that just completely f***s her over. She has a facet where you can drain your mana shield in order to gain attack speed. They buffed it again in a letter patch, or buffed it, where now it drains more mana but gives you more attack speed. So it just kills you quicker. I don't think this is very good. It's one of the lowest picked facets in the game and a very low win rate as well. The other facet gives you damage on your Mystic Snake. It's not that much. It's not enough to justify picking this hero since they nerfed it way back when she was really OP, when they reworked her so that she has this mana shield giving her 90% or 98% damage reduction. Like, basically, it's really easy to chew through her mana shield. Diffusal's a very good item on a lot of heroes. So, like, you don't even need an anti-mage to counter this hero. You just need any diffusal buyer, which is any universal hero, which is pretty much like 60% of the heroes that are being picked right now. So, yeah, Medusa feels pretty bad, but maybe in a few patches. Wraith King, another hero that was very popular, very strong at the start of 7.36 because the curse facet that people were going was just doing way too much damage. That's still the one that I see people going. It's still decent. It's not bad. They nerfed Radiance. They nerfed Armlet. So he's kind of fallen off for that reason. Midas is not that great. Like, all of the Wraith King items are not super good. And a lot of Dota right now, or at least for the last few major patches, heroes that are picked are determined by what items are OP. And the Wraith King items are just not that good right now, and the facet got nerfed. The Skeleton facet is probably all right, but like I said, for carry, people are going for the curse one. But both of them, it's like either your old Wraith King but nerfed, or you are new Wraith King, probably better, but worse than at the start of 7.36. Okay, moving on to the C tier, we have Lone Druid, which pretty much is just the same old Lone Druid because you either have a facet which transforms the bear, or you have a facet which transforms the hero on true form. Nobody's going for the bear one. Everybody's going for the one that just transforms your hero, because if your hero dies, the bear dies, and you kind of need that thing. So it's essentially just old Lone Druid, which is fine. Universal heroes are still good. The bear's a universal hero. Diffusal's still a good item on the bear. Going for Echo Saber on the bear is still good. You can go Deso, AC, whatever. It's still great. Radiance wasn't really a thing on Lone Druid too much, so the Radiance nerf doesn't affect him that much. So he's fine. If you're a Lone Druid player, you know, good job. Keep it up. You can play that hero. Lena. So the facet that everybody is going for on her is the supercharged one, which basically just makes it so that her ult grants her Giga Fiery Soul, which is great for carry Lena because she wants to right click very quickly, and that lets you do that. But the main reason that I would say that this is a decent carry right now is because there are melee 5s and there are melee 4s that are being played that really like to have a Lena as the carry. So you can have some Spirit Breaker or Tusk or Sven. Sven is like the most popular 5 right now because of the armor and Vlads and drums and all this stuff just being like a buff hero. It's all about auras right now. And, running one of these heroes in front of Lena and giving her a good lane is very good. She'd probably be a lot stronger if there weren't a lot of backline jumpers that were popular right now, where like, yes, you can have a good lane. She'll destroy a lot of offlaners in lane, especially with these 5s that are melee, but you can still jump her. So otherwise she would be higher tier as a carry, I think. Lifestealer, this hero was completely busted at the start of the patch with the facet that lets you deny creeps from very high HP, which means that you can lifesteal off of your own creeps, which also is the thing that they changed in 7.36. And then when you deny a creep or when you last hit a creep, you gain HP. But they nerfed the amount of HP that you gain from this. They nerfed Radiance as well. They nerfed Armlet. So all of these things means that Lifestealer went from being S tier to being fine. There are still some games where you really need some magic immune guy or a guy to just like stick on an enemy carry, and Lifestealer is still good in that case. He's pretty much always going to have that niche. Nobody's going for the other facet, by the way. Terorblade, even as a carry, people are going for the facet that makes it so that Sunder could be used and there's no like minimum HP threshold on it. Part of the reason why I think this hero is being picked a lot as a carry and competitive is because you never know if it's going to be played as a 4 or 5 with this like armlet Dagon Terorblade running around like terrorizing, because it is genuinely actually good. It's like I hate to say it's a meme, but it's good. But as a carry, sometimes there is some enemy Leshrac or like some hero that just runs in there and TB can stand and fight, and that's always going to be good. The illusions definitely feel kind of sus right now. The fact that they do less damage the farther away they are from Terorblade, that feels kind of bad. So he's not really that like lane pushing illusion toxic hero that he used to be as much, but still for standing and man fighting, he's great, especially with the Sunder facet. Meepo, geez, if this hero is even in the game at the point where this video is out, I'll be surprised, because it feels like every single day there's another glitch that people are discovering for how to like duplicate items with Meepo with the pack rat facet, which honestly seems to be the play. Carry mid, that seems to be the facet people are going for because of all the interesting stuff that you can do with it, and literal glitches. Like you can have lower cooldown diffusal, people are putting Hex in the neutral item slot, people are putting Philly Stone in the neutral item slot to have like a crap load of gold per minute. But Meepo just seems fine. Probably a better mid in my opinion, where you're like last picking and abusing the XP that you're getting from mid. But as a carry, if you're a Meepo player, you can still get away with it. If it was mid, I would rate this a lot higher tier. PL, so people are going for the facet that makes it so the illusions are uncontrollable, but like a lot of them spawn randomly when you're spawning illusions. This is really annoying in fights, honestly, as a support, and just illusions are spawning on you. But it has the downside that you cannot control them. And Aghanim Scepter PL is still quite good. That's going to spawn even more illusions. Diffusal Blade is still a good item. It's just that there are a lot of AoE type heroes being picked right now. Ember Spirit, Phoenix, Primal Beast, just to name a few that will clear through the PL illusions. Otherwise, very similar to like Lena. Potentially, if we were in a patch where a lot of these heroes were weak, then a mass illusion type hero like PL might be better. But he's fine right now. There's some teams that are picking him that seem to really enjoy it. Nouns actually was picking him. They got knocked out of Riyadh Masters. But hey, they were here. K1 Hector, shoutouts to him. Phantom Assassin. This is a Yatoro classic. He rated this hero pretty highly. I've not seen it a lot, but the facet that people are going for is the one that makes it so that every 6 attacks you're critting, and then your crit is higher. And people are going for attack speed on this hero and building a little differently than before. And it seems fine. It is a like anti-mage type hero where you probably want to farm a Battle Fury. You probably want to go for some like 3 item timing, which with the 5 manning that's going on right now, it can be a little bit sus to try to force that. If it was a Battle Fury patch, I feel like with the facet, the 6-hit facet, this hero might actually be broken. But for now, she's just okay. And then also, I think people don't like her new blur. It's like pseudo invis. It's how it was in Dota 1, and it feels scuffed. It feels way more scuffed than before. Bloodseeker. So the facet that people are going for is the one that you can press and then like Thirst is amplified, and this puts a debuff on all enemies. So you can actually use it when a kill is happening, and then because it puts a debuff on the enemies, you get assist gold for kills. So I think the people that are abusing that will find that Bloodseeker is a better hero than the people that aren't abusing that. And then also BSJ has a build on this hero where it's like Dagon, Kaya and Yasha, Bloodstone, Aghanim Scepter, and you're just playing around the lifesteal, the spell lifesteal. It's very interesting. I would give it a try. I've not seen it personally. He just assures me that this is very strong and underrated. Maybe if this was a thing, it would be even higher tier. Who knows? But for now, in terms of what pros are picking and pro level pubs, it's C tier. Okay, moving on to the B tier. We have Clinks. Now, this hero was completely broken at the start of the patch, particularly because the skeletons that he was spawning were able to cast his AoE arrow. Apparently, this was a glitch. This allowed you to do so much damage as a carry because every single archer would cast it. It got nerfed. It doesn't work that way anymore. With that being said, Bloodthorn is arguably the most broken carry item right now in the game, and Clinks is a massive Bloodthorn enjoyer. People are going 50-50 between the facets, either the one that makes strafe cause people to miss, or the one where you can death pact and then teleport to where you're death pacting. Clinks for me is a very 50-50 hero. Either somebody's running around and they're 20-0 with Clinks, or they're 0-20 and feeding because he's like one of the squishiest heroes in the game. But I will say, if you are a Clinks player, this is a very good Clinks patch. It's just not busted enough that I would say, hey, go learn Clinks if you don't know it. Sven, the facet that people are going for is the one that lowers his damage, but then it gives you more strength per point of strength that you're getting, which means late game, he does huge damage, like way more than before. And he has a built-in cleave, which means you can farm without having to farm a Battle Fury. So he's like a 3-4 item timing hero that is actually reasonable to commit to. It's not like griefing the game because everybody's like grouping up with pipes and mechanisms and stuff early. You can farm while also not griefing the game. So Sven is good. And also I think a big reason why Sven is being picked as a carry, at least in competitive and pro level pubs, is because it's also such a strong support. It's like the strongest 5 right now. So people are picking it to block pick. So that way, if it's drafted in competitive, for example, they can, flex it to carry. So that's why it's very popular. And people are discovering builds because of this. It's the same old build, but people are, playing it. Gyrocopter, the facet everybody's going for is the one that makes you faster on your Q, which means people are playing around early game fighting Gyro, which works amazingly for this patch with the pipes and the greaves that are being built, like I mentioned. His built-in, his innate, lets you disassemble items, all items, which there's probably something really interesting that you can do with this hero. What I've seen people doing is disassembling drums, so that way they can get extra drum charges. That's the only use of it that I've seen so far. I would be interested to see how people work this into the carry Gyro, but I'm sure because of the drums thing that there are things that you can do. People are just waiting to discover, but Gyro feels fine. Naga Siren, so the facet everybody's going for is the one that just gives her old Riptide, and she's pretty much the same hero. Her illusions and her get evasion, which is honestly really toxic based on her innate. I hate the It's so annoying dealing with illusions, let alone evasion. Those are it's like a pairing of the two most annoying things in Dota, other than maybe Mana Burn, which she also can do with the Diffusal Blade, for fuck's sakes. The thing with Naga Siren, though, is basically I think she's really busted because Bloodthorn is the best carry item in the game. She's one of the best Bloodthorn carriers in the game. But on the flip side, Night Stalker is not as popular of an offlaner. She was like the hard counter to him when he was S tier, and he was the only S tier offlaner. He got nerfed, nobody's picking him, so that reduces Naga's value a little bit. And then also the facet people are going for on her is just old Naga. So if she had a really broken facet, then she'd be S tier, even with the fact that she doesn't counter a lot of the offlaners right now. Slark, I would say what makes him busted, because he also is in a similar boat where his facet is just old Slark, where you pounce and you get stats. That's the one people are going for. But his innate is his ulti, which means you can check for wards early, which means you get regen early in the laning phase, and his laning can be a bit rough. So Slark is solid. And if you're playing against a Legion commander and you get the Slark Ag Shard, you can cancel duel. So depending on the game, Slark with his ult and with the Ag Shard can be really busted. Or if you're playing into really tanky heroes like Sven, where you just want to sit on them and munch on them, or Lifestealer. So it does depend on the game for him, but he seems very solid. Faceless Void, the facet everybody's going for on him is the one where you jump and then you take 0 damage for a couple of, or a fraction of a second after you jump. It's really annoying. This hero already was so hard to deal damage to. Now it's even harder. I will say, though, they've nerfed pretty much everything else about him. They nerfed Maelstrom, which was his farming item and still is his farming item among some of his abilities as well. But with that being said, it just seems like every single patch they nerf some things about this hero and then buff other things, and the buffs seem to outweigh the nerfs, and that's kind of the state that he's in. Also, Chronosphere late game, you are always going to win the carry to carry matchup. You just chrono them. With that being said, Time Zone, it's a grief. Oh my god, it's so bad. Morphling, pretty much the same carry that he was before, except now waveform is the thing that people are leveling up because it applies an instant attack for 50%, which is very good because it means you are killing waves a lot quicker. You're one-shotting range creeps. That's what people are leveling up instead of adaptive strike. I also kind of like it that now you can stat morph all the way down to very, very low HP where you can get more usage out of your wand and stuff like that. But it's a double-edged sword because it means you can stat morph low enough that you're a lot easier to kill with like a single nuke. I've seen tiny tosses kill a Morphling just because he's stat morphed a little bit too low. That seems to happen a lot right now. Morph Strength Facet is also very good. So people are picking a mid, people are picking off lane and support, and then flexing it to carry, and that feels quite strong. So if you really want to learn a hero, I mean, the Strength Morph is completely different from Carry Morph, so maybe I shouldn't suggest that. It's also very hard to play. Alchemist. So people are just going for the extra bonus gold facet. He is pretty much the same hero that he always was, but we are on a patch where the timing that he hits with like Radiance, BKB into Blink, Bloodthorn, that sort of thing is really strong. He's like a 15-20 minute carry timing hero where you don't need a Battle Fury, you're just farming with his Q, and then you get a lead, and then you also fight early because he's a hero that has a stun. His new passive seems very strong. Whenever I see like a carry to carry fight, Alk tends to win that these days. So Alk is very good, very solid. Okay, finally, moving on to the A tier. I don't know why I said finally. There's a tier above this. We have Broodmother. So I'm just as surprised as you are that people are playing this as a carry, but this is like a main carry hero. People are going for the facet where her webs reduce healing and then putting it in the other lanes and then just playing with one web in her lane. So you're kind of getting a carry that wins all the lanes while also being a strong carry because she's a universal hero, because Insatiable Hunger gives her damage based on base attack damage, and she's universal, so she's getting a lot of base attack damage. Now her spiders are really busted because they're spiderlings and not spiderites. So Broodmother, just a very solid hero, also an amazing Bloodthorn buyer, and Bloodthorn is very busted right now. Speaking of Bloodthorn buyers, Chaos Knight, it seems like every few patches they tweak the numbers on this hero and then he becomes completely busted. So what they tweaked on him for this patch that I think is very strong is the fact that he just innately now has a chance of spawning extra illusions. And guess what? CK illusions are very broken. So if you get Ag Shard, you throw a stun at a guy, it can spawn 2 illusions and just destroy somebody. You ult, you can spawn a bunch of illusions. You Manta, you can spawn a bunch of illusions. He's an amazing Orchid / Bloodthorn buyer. Once you get that, you pretty much group up and run at the enemy carry. And honestly, like, he might be currently the fastest paced carry in the game in terms of being able to show up to stuff. Broodmother even is actually like running at mid with webs and stuff early. So carries that run at you, very strong. CK is one of those. Also, he sustains against pretty much all the offlaners, and he's the best kill carry in the game. I think they just nerfed him, so if they didn't do that, I would put him at S tier. We'll get to the S tier heroes. They're pretty goddamn bonkers, but CK is good. Wind Ranger, she is being played as an offlaner, as a carry, as a mid. I think she does very well against a lot of the offlaners. It's very hard to find a lane where Windrunner loses. I don't think she loses any lane. Everybody's just going for the Focus Fire facet. It's still good. Everybody's getting Aghanim Scepter. It's still the same thing that it used to be. In fact, it's kind of nerfed. It's still good. Gleipnir is an amazing item. You have like crazy low disable cooldowns on her if you go for Gleipnir, and big nukes as well. I like that on Wind Ranger you can get a Javelin, which is very cheap now, by the way, get level 6, and you pretty much kill anybody. It's really annoying to deal with, so yeah, she's very good. Ursa, all of his facets, all of his innates, everything just gives you damage. I don't know why they did it to this guy. He just gets a load of damage. I wish I could tell you like, oh, everybody's going for the Octarine core build, playing around his Enrage. Nope. Ursa is just a massive damage dealer. He also takes Roche really early. This is honestly the one hero people are going Battle Fury on that it doesn't seem bad. And I think part of that is that he can show up to fights with Battle Fury components. And if you have stuns, if you have Clockworks and Crystal Maidens and stuff like that to actually disable people, Ursa will offer you damage in fights. And he's not like a PA showing up where there's a huge risk you just feed because he has Enrage. So he can get away from the fight after showing up to it. And it's not a huge risk. So you can actually do stuff while building a Battle Fury. Troll Warlord, similar kind of boat. He can show up to stuff and get active. I would say the big reason Troll is very strong right now is because he tends to do very well against a lot of the offlaners that are being picked. Beastmaster and Slardar are like S tier, and Troll is the hardest counter in the game to Slardar, and pretty good against Beastmaster because you can kill the boar, as well as like stick on the main hero and kill him. You force out a roar, Troll can ult and heal to full and 1v1 a Beastmaster even when Beast has the Aghanim Scepter. And then I think Troll also works really well with a lot of the supports that are being picked right now because there's a lot of kill supports like I said, Crystal Maiden. Okay, moving on to the S tier, we have the most broken carries in the game, starting with Weaver. I personally think this is the most broken carry in the game. He has the strongest level 2 timing out of any hero, and as a carry, that's kind of crazy. A lot of carries are kind of weak at laning, at least a lot of like the C, B, D tier heroes. And the reason for that is because you get 3 spells. You get your Sakuchi, which now slows. That's the facet people are going for. It also puts you at faster than haste and move speed. You get your double attack, which now does less damage based on nerfs, but you barely feel it. It's like 5 less damage at level 1. And then you have bugs, and the bugs are like devastating. Weaver Ag Shard, still amazing. Great for clearing creep waves. Once you get late game, you get the 25 talent for Sakuchi cooldown. You're just hitting things while invis. It's on such a low cooldown. You're impossible to kill. You clear all creep waves. It's wild. Weaver can like full to 0 heroes so quickly. Monkey King. So basically the most busted thing about him, there's a couple of things. The Aghanim Shard is really good. It does a ton of damage. I've seen people use it in crazy ways to like reposition and get extremely good ults off. But the talent or the facet that people are going for is the tree dance facet. People are being super active on carry Monkey King. They're getting Orb of Corrosion. They're winning their lane, and then they're going through the portal, ganking the enemy safe lane, taking the tower, even ganking mid, because it's just 0 commitment to do that on this hero because you can tree dance so quickly because of the facet to elsewhere. Monkey King is one of the most busted heroes in Dota right now, in Pro Dota. TA, God, this hero has been good since they changed her Q so that it gives you a straight up shield. She's just no longer countered by the heroes that she used to be. Meld in lane is devastating for getting kills. Sideblades has really long range and is amazing at farming stacks. It's like a Sven where you don't have to get a Battle Fury and you can kind of farm while also having a fighting carry for this like 5v5 meta. She can do both at once. You can also share trap control and have traps in fights and you don't have to have some carry that's like farming stacks and then can't offer anything to fights. She's very solid, very broken hero in mid and carry position. Anyway, that's it. There's the tier list. You thought the video paused, didn't you? But I was just standing still.